This is Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
I'm the only lawyer ever to obtain a court ruling that a president of the United States committed a crime.
For truth. For competition.
As a young lawyer, I helped break up AT&T. That's why you have all your cell phones today.
For sovereignty. For the Republic.
I'm the guy who, at Judicial Watch, which I founded, uncovered the Chinagate scandal. Millions of dollars going to the Clinton campaign, corrupting our political system.
For the privacy of citizens.
And I'm the only guy to have enjoined the National Security Agency from mass surveillance on hundreds of millions of Americans.
Tearing it up.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
Bringing it back.
We're going to take this country apart and put it back together again in the way envisioned by our founding fathers.
It's not just talk.
We're not just regurgitating.
Not the music you were expecting? Know what you're getting into with your music and your internet. Straight Up Internet is $50 all in, no hidden fees. And like this music, you can even pause it. Straight Up Internet, know what you're getting into.
News stories. Larry Klayman, special prosecutor, is making the news.
And now, here's Larry.
Welcome to this week's edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. Another very important show. You know, I never say a never great show because we're not here for entertainment. Okay, we're not like the cable news networks of Fox News or CNN or MSNBC. We're not here just to get ratings, to get advertising dollars. In fact, we don't get advertising dollars. If you want to contribute, you contribute to Freedom Watch or the Clive and Bundy Defense Fund.org or the Corsi Legal Defense Fund.com. We're here for results. And this is what separates what I do, what Freedom Watch does, and what I do in my private capacity at the Klayman Law Group, that's my law firm, from what a lot of other people do. We're not just here getting documents, hanging them on the wall. My former public interest group, Judicial Watch, they boast about documents. Just today they sent something out saying they've got smoking gun documents. Well, you know what? Tom Fitton can hang them on the wall along with pictures of himself. If you go out on the internet, you can see he always has pictures of himself in these tight shirts. I'm not sure I understand the motivation for that, but you can ask him. But we're doing real results. We're doing hard-hitting cases and citizens' grand juries, and we are your Justice Department. So I want you to pay particular attention today because my client, my guest, my friend Laura Loomer is going to be on the show. She brought a very important lawsuit this week against Facebook. We don't just complain. We take action. And of course, you know that she's been very active in fighting anti-Semitism. She's been active in fighting radical Islam, or just rather Islam. You know, there are good Muslims, and those people have converted to other faiths. But if you actually follow the Quran and you believe that infidels should be killed or enslaved, I don't know how you can call that a religion. And, you know, you have to be able to say these things straight up in today's world. We don't have a lot of time. This country's slipping away. We can't even say the Pledge of Allegiance in some parts of the country, such as in Minnesota this week. There's this political correctness, which is not correctness at all. It is, in fact, turning this country not just far left, but destroying the vision of our founding fathers, destroying the fabric of the nation, the motivation of these radical groups, whether it's Muslims, whether it's radical feminists, whether it's the Jewish left, some people on the Jewish left who are self-hating, such as Mark Zuckerberg, the head of Facebook, and we're going to talk about that, or whether it's radical blacks, radical atheists, and others. They want to destroy this country. And once they take it down, they're going to start fighting with each other. We're going to have complete chaos because these groups have little in common. For instance, Sharia law under Islam is not compatible with so-called gay rights or lesbian rights or transgender rights. They believe, frankly, in killing gays and lesbians and others. And you've got the same kind of tension in other areas as well. So this country's headed for anarchy if we don't, in fact, arrest the slide right now. And we need to restore the vision of our founding fathers. We just came off of July 4th, and that was in my native city of Philadelphia that we founded a great nation on July 4th, 1776. So we're fighting back. And let me tell you a little bit about this case against Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook. Years ago, I brought a lawsuit against Zuckerberg and Facebook because he left up on Facebook a third Intifada page. The Palestinians were threatening to kill, and did kill, Jews and Christians, anybody that they disagreed with in terms of how the Holy Land is to be administered to. And at that time, even the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, had asked that this page be taken down because people were getting killed. Zuckerberg left that up there for several weeks until I brought a lawsuit against him. Now, we didn't prevail in that lawsuit because of a law called the Communications Decency Act. I felt that we got around it, but we got a very liberal judge, a Obama judge in Washington, D.C., who dismissed the case. And, of course, it went up to the D.C. Circuit Court. That's the appellate court in the federal level, and that we drew a lot of liberal judges there, too. There are very few, if any, conservative judges on the D.C. Circuit. But, however, we did have the impact of at least causing Facebook to take that page down. Now, fast forward to what Laura Loomer's been doing, and we're going to bring her on for the second and third segments because I want you to hear it directly from her. She's been out there. She's a female Jewish conservative activist. She gets involved in other issues as well. It's not just Jewish issues. And, of course, by extension, Jewish issues are Christian issues. Our Judeo-Christian system of justice is based upon the Talmud. It's based upon the Ten Commandments. But she's been critical of Representatives Ilham Omar and Rashida Tlaib, these Muslim congresswomen in Congress who, frankly, can't even get along with the Wicked Witch of the West, Nancy Pelosi. That's how way out they are. It's like the Manchurian Candidate. They've been inserted into this government. With regard to Omar, it was Obama who sent scores of, thousands, tens of thousands of Somalis to the district upon which Ilham Omar was ultimately elected. The Jewish left stupidly actually supported Omar, thinking that, okay, she'll be nice to us if we get her elected. But no, she's turned on them. She's a vehement anti-Semite. She's a vehement anti-Israel person. She believes in Sharia law. She reportedly married her brother and committed immigration fraud. She reportedly filed joint tax returns with someone she wasn't even married to. It goes on and on and on. And this woman thinks that she's hot stuff. And in fact, the leftist media covers her. Rashida Tlaib, the same thing. She was elected in Detroit in a district that she wasn't even a resident in. And she called the Holocaust. She gets a calming feeling from the Holocaust. Yeah, she gets a common feeling thinking that 6 million Jews were slaughtered by Adolf Hitler. These people are in Congress right now. These people are trying to take down the country, along with Ocasio-Cortez, who's another lunatic, not quite as lunatic as Omar and Tlaib, but almost. So this needs to be addressed. And Laura Loomer's been out there fighting this peacefully, legally. She does stunts. Stunts are to make a point. She throws humor into it, but she's not dangerous. However, she's the most banned woman in the social media, most banned person, period. And she was taken off of Facebook, and when that happened, Facebook said that she was a dangerous person and a domestic terrorist, and that's why they took her down. Well, that's defamatory. So we brought a lawsuit this week in the Southern District of Florida, Palm Beach Division, because that's the county that Laura Loomer lives in, and we alleged defamation per se with regard to her activities. They claimed that she was a criminal, in effect, a domestic terrorist. We alleged defamation generally and defamation by implication. These are all three types of defamation in Florida. Florida's a very good place. That's my home state to bring defamation cases. I've won cases there for public figures like our friend Laura Loomer. In fact, I even won one against Judicial Watch, who defamed me. That was Fitton and Company defamed me. I won that case in the Southern District of Florida. So this is what we have to do. We have to be proactive. And we asked for $3 billion in damages, not because we want to get rich, but punitive damages, and that occurs when there's a malicious act to harm somebody, are assessed generally 5% of the net worth of a company. The net worth of Facebook is $63+ billion. And the reason for punitive damages is to make it hurt so bad that they don't do it again. And worse than that, Facebook, and Laura's going to explain that to you, is out there now threatening her again, and she caught them in the act, and she preserved what they were doing. This is a vile, vicious entity ultra left. Mark Zuckerberg, self-hating Jew. He hates his own people. And that seems to be sometimes prevalent in the Jewish left. There are good people who are leftists that are Jews, but there are a lot who hate themselves. Remember, it was the Jewish left who invented communism. It was Karl Marx. It was Leon Trotsky. And later on, Stalin took over. And the pogroms, he killed almost as many Jews as Hitler did. These people on the Jewish left, a lot of them, not all of them, would get on boxcars today thinking they were going to summer camp in Nazi Germany. They're not just naive, but they don't even like their own people. Now, you know that I'm of Jewish origin. I became a Christian. I call myself a Jewish Christian. I'm very proud of my Jewish heritage. I am a big supporter of Israel. I'm a Zionist. I believe the land belongs to Jews and by extension Christians. Obviously, Jesus believed that, and others believe that. Moses, God believes that. He gave that land to us. So that's what Laura Loomer's been fighting for. And of course, she's dealing here with people that don't want to allow her to get her message out and to harm her financially and physically, because to say she's dangerous, to say that she's a female Jewish terrorist, is like to wage an intifada. That's in fact what Zuckerberg furthered years ago with the Palestinians. That intifada resulted in dead Jews and Christians in the Middle East. And that's what we're fighting against. And of course, you know that your Freedom Watch has an antitrust case against all the social media companies, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or YouTube or Google or Apple. You know, that's in the courts right now, and that's going through the courts. And we're already filing another one. So a lot of people talk about the discrimination against conservatives, but very few people do anything about it. And, you know, the irony here is that when we filed this lawsuit this week, it was reported by virtually every media organization except for Fox News. And in fact, I wrote an email to the CEO of Fox News, Suzanne Scott, also to Jay Wallace, the president of Fox News, to Neil Cavuto, who's the vice president. I said, put Laura Loomer on. Let her tell her story here. They wouldn't do that because Fox News discriminates against real conservatives. They've turned left under the leadership of Lachlan Murdoch, who's a liberal, who took control after his dad stepped down. Rupert's not really a conservative either. He just wanted to make money. This is the kind of thing that goes on. So we have to pursue this, and we have to fight ourselves. This is not something that can be done by just Fox News, but by Larry Klayman, Freedom Watch, and in my private capacity. We'll be right back.
Dangerous.
Don't care. Use the court and the law.
Lethal.
This is bad.
Special prosecutor
Very bad.
Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support
I'm
Freedom
back
Watch
with my
and
friend,
this radio show,
my client, real American heroine, Laura Loomer. And on this first segment, before you came on, Laura, we're going to have you tell your story right now. I was talking about how nearly every media organization reported the lawsuit that we filed this week except for Fox News, and that I sent them an email saying, put you on, the story needs to be told. You sent them an email. It was completely not responded to, ignored. Of course, they went on with their usual guests, people, frankly, who do little to nothing. You are doing something. Obviously, I am as well. But over the years, Fox News has blacklisted a number of people who take positions that are not politically correct. That's true with my client and friend, Sheriff Joe Arpaio. It's true with the Bundy family, also my clients and friends. It's true with Judge Roy Moore. To a large extent, it's true with regard to Dr. Jerry Corsi and a whole bunch of other people, because Fox News is moving left. And not only that, they don't want to lose advertisers. They're to make money. They don't want to rock the boat. And that's why we do need alternative media. We need more conservative networks. I hope that Sinclair will step up to the plate. I hope that One American News grows bigger. I hope that Newsmax will move further to the right in a conservative way. They're kind of moderate right now. But this radio show is so important because we tell it like it is. we tell the truth, and we're not afraid. And that's why I have Laura Loomer as my client, as my friend, as my colleague, because she's the kind of person that we need in this country to preserve this country, to keep it from going down the drain. Laura, I want to introduce you to the audience, a special prosecutor with Larry Klayman, and I want you to explain to our listeners what occurred with regard to Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, that self-hating Jew, and also why we had to bring this lawsuit and why we're fighting on other fronts to try to get social media to stop censoring conservative content. And of course, ironically, as I just said, Fox News itself censors conservative content. So we're fighting on all fronts. Tell your story, Laura, because it's really important that the people understand.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, so I am currently the most banned woman in the world. I have been banned on every single social media platform, and I assumed that title on May 2nd of this year when Facebook permanently banned me. When they banned me, they also banned me on Instagram, which they own, and they made an entire media spectacle out of it. And so I was in California at the time that it happened, and I was getting messages from reporters from pretty much every left-wing media organization saying, oh, how do you feel about today's ban and the dangerous individual classification? And I had no idea what they were talking about. And Facebook basically had, given advance notice to the left-wing media that they were going to be like maliciously branding me and several other conservative media personalities as dangerous individuals and banning us. And so I was able to pretty much watch myself get banned in real time as people were already reporting on it. And what happened was Facebook labeled me a dangerous individual. And they said that I was banned, Paul Joseph Watson was banned, Louis Farrakhan was banned, Alex Jones and Milo Yiannopoulos and a few others for being dangerous individuals. When they branded me as a dangerous individual, all right, my name started being posted on every single left-wing media outlet, and even CNN's Brian Stelter had images of me and others who had been banned, and it said that we were some type of extremist, right? So people all around the world were led to believe that I truly was some sort of dangerous criminal or individual who, was more dangerous than Hamas or ISIS or the Muslim Brotherhood or even Antifa, actual terrorist organizations that have access to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And so, this was very dangerous for me personally because people then started to think that I was more dangerous and I ought to be more hated than any of these terrorist organizations. And so, obviously I contacted you and we prepared a suit for defamation. And just the other day, we filed our lawsuit against Facebook for defamation because they defamed me by calling me a dangerous individual and essentially, encouraged people to rise up against me by proclaiming me to be some sort of terrorist. And then to my shock and horror, but really I guess not my surprise, the day that we filed the lawsuit, Facebook updated their terms of service under their community standards.
We're going to get into that in our next segment. We'll be right back with Laura Loomer.
And now, 4 words that make corrupt politicians make wee-wee in their little pants.
Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this president.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
Be the one who makes our country great again. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and donate.
Laura, tell us what happened after we filed the lawsuit last week.
So when we filed the lawsuit the other day, the day that we filed it, I got a text message from my friend Paul Joseph Watson, who was also deemed dangerous. And he said, wow, they want us dead. And I said, what are you talking about? And he sent me a screenshot of their new community standards page under violence on Facebook's, Facebook's user agreement. And there was a section that said that death threats should not be posted unless, and you can see it word for word, this is what it said, unless they are directed at targets in the dangerous individuals and organizations section. So let's just go over that. What does that mean? Well, Facebook's saying that you cannot post death threats or incite violence against anybody on the platform unless it's against people like me and Milo and Paul Joseph Watson and Alex Jones, who they have deemed dangerous individuals. And so here you have the most powerful social media company in the world that has about 2 billion users sanctioning violence against me and saying that that I deserve to die, I guess, because they think that my politics are wrong and they've deemed me a dangerous individual. And what people need to realize is that what's happened to me can happen to any of you. I'm not dangerous by any means whatsoever. I've never committed a violent crime in my life. I've never incited violence against anybody. I've never committed assault. I've never done anything violent. I'm not a criminal. I've never joined a terrorist organization. I've never committed mass murder. And so according to Facebook's own definition of a dangerous individual, well, it doesn't really fit the bill for who I am as an individual. I'm just a 26-year-old Jewish Trump supporter who became very popular on social media and had hundreds of thousands of followers on all platforms because of my videos in which I would confront high-profile left-leaning politicians and make viral videos in which they run away when I ask them questions, okay? They don't like the fact that I put illegal aliens on Nancy Pelosi's lawn. They don't like the fact that I exposed Ilhan Omar for marrying her brother and the fact that she's anti-Jewish. They don't like that I'm effective. I'm not banned because I'm hateful. I'm banned because I'm effective and because people listen to me, right? And so it got even crazier because after Facebook sanctioned violence against me, they tried to cover it up. So I reported on my site. Paul Joseph Watson reported on his. Then Breitbart and the Daily Caller picked it up. And instead of apologizing for issuing a fatwa against me, Facebook secretly went into their page and just deleted the section that said unless it's directed at dangerous individuals, and acted as if nothing happened, okay? And, of course, the media ignored this. No one's talking about it. No one in the mainstream media. And you have to wonder, can we really even trust the media when you have the largest social media company in the world saying it's okay to murder certain people who support President Trump because Facebook is liberal and doesn't like them? Okay, I mean, if they're not going to get that reported on and the media is not going to make an issue out of Facebook calling for people to be murdered because of their political speech, then these companies are not just above the law, but they're above the government. Right? And that's
here's the thing, Laura. I want you to explain, because, yes, you are someone who is very straightforward. You're someone who is an activist. You put your money where your mouth is, so to speak. You're not just talking. You're not just getting documents and going out and getting on Fox News and other things like my former group. You're actually doing something. And I want you to explain exactly what you uncovered with regard to Ilhan Omar, what happened with Rashida Tlaib, because this seems to be the flashpoint, you see, is that the irony here is that these Muslim congressmen apparently have more rights than you do. They can be out on these platforms. They can say things that are hateful. They can say that the Holocaust gives them a calming feeling. They can talk about Jews as Jaimes or the Benjamins. They can disparage all they want. They're even here on fraudulent basis in terms of Omar, in terms of her immigration activities. I want you to explain, what you said and did with regard to these individuals that caused them to discriminate against you, a Jewish activist, in favor of these Muslim congresswomen who frankly hate Jews and Christians and in my view, want to destroy this country.
Well, what I did is I did an extensive investigation on the ground in Minnesota last year into Ilhan Omar and, of course, Keith Ellison and Rashida Tlaib. And, I was doing investigations into jihadist candidates who have ties to terrorist organizations. And, of course, the media, when a lot of these people were running for office, the media was focused on key states, right? And so they ignored a lot of these fringe candidates like the AOCs and the Ilhan Omars and the Rashida Tlaibs because they were focused on, I guess, larger races. Well, I knew when I saw these candidates running that they were going to be extremely problematic if they got elected because they support Sharia law. They are anti-American. They are anti-Trump. And when you have jihadists who are anti-Trump serving in buildings in our United States Capitol, that's a security risk. That's a security issue for not only the president, but also for other members of Congress who have to share chambers with these so-called members of the Hamas caucus, as I like to call them. And, there was a video I filmed. I confronted Ilhan Omar on video a year ago, and I asked her why she married her brother, why she hates Jews, why she hates Israel, why she's tied to CARE, a terrorist organization, why she used campaign funds to pay for her divorce from her lawyer, why she committed tax fraud, right? All these things that the media is now coming out and claiming as their own stories, right? It's funny how that works. It's funny how I get branded as some type of alt-right, neo-Nazi, white supremacist, anti-Muslim bigot when I'm on the ground reporting, and that's how all the publications, described me. If you recall, I called you when I was in Minnesota and said, "Oh my God, Larry, the Star Tribune just called me a Nazi in the paper. What do I do?" Remember that? So
you also went into a bookstore and found books there, calling for death to Jews and things like that.
Right.
Remember
exactly.
you telling me that.
And, yeah, of course. And so this is rampant in places like Minnesota, right? This is where Ilhan Omar is now a congresswoman. And it's no surprise that in Ilhan Omar's district, where she is a congresswoman, her district is the #1 ISIS recruitment capital in the United States of America. It's no surprise that her district just banned the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. It's no surprise that her district is the place where Somali men are tossing 5-year-old boys off of the top of the Mall of America and giving them permanent bodily and brain damage, right? It's no surprise that this is all happening in Ilhan Omar's district, right? Like, this is what she supports. And she's never once made any effort or initiative to combat the growing terror threat in her district. She has never apologized for her anti-Semitism. She continues to spew anti-American garbage and talk about how terrible the United States was. But then, she came here, right? She's not from this country. She was born in Somalia, so she hates it here so much. She's more than welcome to go back. But if you call these people out and you expose them for their actual ties to terrorists, for their Jew hatred, right? These are qualities which should automatically disbar somebody from holding office in the United States government, okay? All of which Omar and Rashida and others have. I'm banned.
Tell us what happened.
Okay? I'm banned.
Tell us what happened with Rashida Tlaib. Excuse me, I'm getting choked up. Tell us what happened with her in terms of your being assaulted by her at some point.
Yeah, so when I was on the ground in Minnesota investigating, I confronted Ilhan at a joint campaign event at some Palestinian restaurant that Rashida Tlaib was also speaking at. And I went in there very nicely. You can see the video with my cell phone. And I asked them why they support Hamas and whether or not they would recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, like President Trump had recognized when he moved our embassy to Jerusalem. Okay, these are positions that the United States holds, and as elected officials in the United States, you are expected and required to also support and stand by. Right? These are not things that are really up for discussion or debate. And when I asked her that, Ilhan Omar came over and dragged her and said, "Oh, don't talk to her. She's a stalker." And then Rashida Tlaib hit me, and she grabbed my arm and tried to steal my cell phone and tried to essentially break it. It's all on video. And I filed a police report against Rashida Tlaib. And when I filed the police report, the Minneapolis Police Department has been totally infiltrated by, I hate to say it, but just Somali officers. And it appeared that the officer who took my report was Somali. And I had witnesses with me on the scene when I was filing my police report. And they were refusing to take my report. And they were telling me that I didn't have a right to file a police report, even though the assault was on video. And I kept on telling this, what appeared to be Muslim police officer, I have the assault on video. Why are you being so oppositional? And he started to get very nasty and aggressive with me. And like I said, there were witnesses there, so people can verify my story as completely valid. And then I was told that somebody would get back to me, and no one ever got back to me. So meanwhile, this happened when Rashida was a candidate, and now she's serving in Congress, even though there were assault charges filed against her and a police report filed in Minnesota. And there's video evidence of her physically attacking me.
This is important because we're going to be pursuing that as well. And I might add that the district that Ilhan Omar was elected to was packed with Somali immigrants by Barack Obama. You know, I was talking earlier about Fox News and how they do discriminate against real conservatives like you, like me, like Sheriff Joe Arpaio, like Judge Roy Moore, like the Bundys and others. And the fact here is that we've tried to get on Fox News to tell this message, and we can't. They don't even respond. You sent an email. I sent an email. I sent one to Newsmax as well. Newsmax hasn't responded either. And this is why we need people like you, Laura, and we need Radio America, and we need other conservative voices out there, because the message needs to get through. But more than a message, there needs to be action. You know, it was Barry Goldwater who said, this icon of a conservative years back, this is his famous quote, "I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. And let me remind you also that moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue." Now, we're not extremists, but what we are is that we're telling it like it is, and we're doing it like it is. And that's why you need to support Freedom Watch. That's why you need to support Laura Loomer, and we'll let people know where they can help you, because you've been hurt financially. And that's why we cannot be afraid, and we cannot be like Fox News. We cannot be like Newsmax. We can't try to position ourselves to promote ourselves. We have to risk our lives, pledge our fortunes, and give our sacred honor to preserve this country. I talk about that a lot. That is what our Declaration of Independence said with regard to our founding fathers. They risked it all. And you're doing the same thing right now. And I want you to just elaborate a little bit more. We've got about 2 minutes left in this segment as to why Laura Loomers are important, why Larry Klayman's are important, why others are important here, and why our listeners need to rise up to save this country. We just can't get along to go along anymore. We have to take action peacefully and legally, as you have done.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important for people to support people like myself and you and others who are in this fight, because, you know, the mainstream media no longer does their job. And, you know, the fact that this is happening, the fact that, you know, investigative journalism that exposes a candidate who is now being put on blast by many for things that I exposed over a year ago. I mean, the media is failing us, right? We could have prevented people like Omar and Rashida Tlaib from getting elected to office if the media actually did their job. But unfortunately, people who are American patriots, who care about their country and are speaking up against this injustice and a lot of this criminal behavior on behalf of the jihadist members of Congress and big tech corporations, are being banned and deplatformed. And if you recall, you know, I was permanently banned by Twitter for exposing Omar, and I called her anti-Jewish, and that's the tweet that got me banned. So as a Jewish woman in America, you know, whose grandfather was arrested by Nazis in Germany, I'm not allowed to say that somebody is anti-Jewish. But Ilhan Omar is allowed to work with CARE, which lobbied Facebook and Twitter to ban me. And the official from CARE who lobbied Facebook and Twitter to ban me is allowed to say things like Jews are worse than ISIS. And she's allowed to, you know, her brother this week, I posted a report, the woman who met with Facebook and Twitter to ban me, her brother actually posted on Facebook that it's time to exterminate the Jews. So,
Laura,
you know,
I want to thank you. We're out of time in this segment. We're going to bring you back. This is a continuing story, and what you're doing is very important. So God bless you, and God save you and keep you well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before he was a trial lawyer, he sliced him and diced him.
People used to ask me, Larry, what caused you to start Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch, given the powerful forces in this country that put you at risk?
In a meat packing plant.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
A very special prosecutor, Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
And now the verdict. I want you all to go to LarryKlayman.com. I want you to read the complaint that was filed on behalf of Laura Loomer. I want you to appreciate there are some people in our country and in this world that will stick their neck out to preserve liberty and justice. It's not enough to get documents, to say, oh, I got smoking gun documents, and then to plead, to beg with the government to do the job of we, the people. That's what my former group does, primarily. And that's not enough. When I ran Judicial Watch, that was not what I wanted to do. The mission was to investigate and prosecute government corruption and abuse, also in our legal system. Now it's transparency in government. Okay, great. We know all these things are happening, but what are we going to do about it? So that's why I'm on the front lines with people like Laura Loomer, why I'm on the front lines with Sheriff Joe Arpaio with regard to Chief Justice Roy Moore, with regard to the Bundys, with regard to many of my other clients, Jerry Corsi, who we kept from being indicted and are now fighting back, not just to indict Mueller, which we did in a citizen's grand jury, and we're going to be trying him in the months ahead. We're going to be moving on to James Comey, to Andrew McCabe, to the Lovebirds, Strzok and Page, to Obama's intelligence czars, Brennan and Clapper, and, of course, the Clintons and Obamas themselves. We need to rise up. Rising up does not mean being violent. That means rising up to protect our country. And we need to be able to get the message out. And that's why I want you to share this radio show. I want you to contribute to Freedom Watch at freedomwatchusa.org. Contribute to the Bundy Legal Defense Fund, Clive and Bundy Legal Defense Fund.org, to the Corsi Legal Defense Fund.com, because these are the people that are standing up for you. Clive and Bundy's now on appeal. If we don't win that, he's going to be back in court. He could do life imprisonment with his sons. This is the Trump Justice Department that's pursuing that, if you can believe that, because the president's not even in control of his own department. Neither is the Attorney General Barr. What you hear on Sean Hannity and Fox News, what you hear from Devin Nunes on Capitol Hill, what you hear from others is basically self-promotion. That's what they're doing. Makes it look like they're doing something, but they're doing little to nothing because they're not getting results. They're simply talking on Fox News. Well, that's not enough. And, of course, Fox News does not put on real conservatives. They don't want to lose the advertisers who are basically leftists. They want to maximize their own position. It's about them. But no, it's about the country. And that's why we cannot be afraid. And that's why I need your strong support. I need you to understand the truth. I need you to understand who's really doing something in this country and who otherwise is just getting documents and talking about it. And I don't mean to be critical or take shots at other people, but frankly, I get upset at watching the hypocrisy on Fox News and the people they put on. Same thing every night. Same monologue by not Sean Connery, believe me. Sean Hannity is not Sean Connery. He's not 007. But this is what we're dealing with today, and I don't want the people to be lulled asleep to think that it's enough just to turn on the network, sit there on your couch, eat popcorn, and then hope for the best. Because hope for the best, but plan for the worst. And planning for the worst is taking affirmative action. And that's what Laura Loomer is doing. That's what I'm doing. That's what my other clients are doing. So go to freedomwatchusa.org. Support our Justice League. Support our leftist media strike force. We're doing something about it. We're not just complaining. We're bringing lawsuits. I'm going to be in court July 25th on behalf of Sheriff Joe Arpaio against CNN, the Huffington Post, and Rolling Stone, who defamed him, calling him a felon. We're going to be going forward with this case with Laura Loomer. We're going forward with our cases against the social media, cases against Robert Mueller on behalf of Corsi. We need your help, and we need you to join us in our Justice League. You are the superheroes. You are Superman. You are Batman. You are Wonder Woman. Nobody else is. And that's why I give you this clarion call each week and share this radio show. The good people at Radio America let me say what I want to say, as well as at worldnetdaily.com. Read my column this week, www.wnd.com, and it's also on our website at freedomwatchusa.org. We need to amass the troops. We need to be like Paul Revere. We need to gear up for the fight ahead to save our nation. So I want to thank you for listening each week, and I want to bless you and your family. I want to bless this country. I want this country to be saved, all under our God, the Judeo-Christian God of peace and goodwill. Thank you for listening. I'll be back next week with another edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman.